The Wedding Favor, Part 14. Ella is confused when Damien stops the car in front of a fancy high-rise. This looks like an apartment building for rich people, not a wellness facility. A valet wearing a red jacket with the same symbol as the building approaches the car before they've fully stopped. This is a spa? Damien huffs out a laugh. No. I live here. I'm taking you to the in-house spa. The high-rise looks really fancy. Does the mafia pay that well? Before Ella can ask Damien, the valet pulls open her door. Damien is already on his way around the car. Ella didn't hear him get out. She hurries out of the car, feeling off kilter. Damien hands the keys to the valet with a handshake and the crinkle of money passing hands. Thanks, Kevin. Why is Damien paying the valet? Why is he on a first-name basis with him? Is this a normal thing or a criminal syndicate thing? Damien continues speaking without any regard to Ella's curiosity. Keep the car close. I'll need it again soon. The valet nods, smiles, and gets in the car without another look at Ella. She stares after him as he drives the car into the high-rise's underground parking. She's never been that invisible to anyone before. It's off-putting. She's pulled out of her mindless stare by Damien putting an arm around her shoulders. We do need to go inside. I made an appointment. At your in-house spa? The question is out of her mouth before Ella can think about it. Damien's arm around her shoulders is too distracting, and her brain seems to be working at half power. Her feet follow along when Damien starts pulling her inside. When he shrugs at her question, it's as if he pulls her closer for a moment. A mini hug. It's not mine, Perce. It's one of the perks of living here. What are the other perks? Damien shrugs again. It really feels like a miniature one-armed hug. The view is pretty great. There's a heated indoor pool I enjoy. The wellness center is very accommodating. I had them send a massage therapist to my flat once. Damien raises a hand at the security guard next to the door as he guides her inside the building. The entrance hall looks the same way most expensive entrance halls look. Large, airy, light and empty, except for a receptionist stuck behind a counter near the entrance. Damien nods at her, and she flutters her eyelashes at him. Damien ignores it, but Ella can't. Does she make googly eyes at every man that enters her building? Because that is unprofessional. When the woman notices Ella's stare, her back straightens and her smile freezes. Ella narrows her eyes at her. She knows that look. She's looking down on Ella. It must be because she's used to people dressed to the nines. Ella mentally curses herself. She should have gone with pretty clothes instead of comfy ones. Damien tightens his hold on her shoulder in an actual one-armed hug, and he leans close enough for his nose to touch her hair. His voice is a whisper caressing her ear when he speaks. Ella, stop glaring at the staff. You're supposed to ignore them if you don't need them. Ella's head snaps around to turn her glare on Damien. She tries to pull away from him so their noses don't touch, but Damien's hand tightens on her shoulder and Ella stops walking. They're supposed to be invisible. They shouldn't be. Ella waves at the receptionist, who is still staring at them. Doing that. Damien frowns and glances at the receptionist. His head tilts to the side a tiny fraction, and his frown turns upside down. The smile is utterly bemused and sets Ella's blood to boiling. Ah, you are jealous. How sweet of you. He pulls her closer and kisses her forehead. I love you too, darling. The sweet words are a bucket of cold water to Ella. She doesn't react to the kiss until Damien has pulled her along to a hallway out of sight of the reception. It's only once they are alone that Ella gathers her wits about her and pushes Damien away. I was not jealous. She was being rude. She's working. You don't flirt with a guy who's very clearly walking by with his girlfriend. Damien keeps grinning, but he lets Ella push him away without a fuss. Whatever you say, Ella, dearest. He keeps walking, ignoring Ella's indignant scoff. She has to speed walk through the hallway to catch up to him. The yellowish marble wall transforms into a wall of floor-to-ceiling windows looking into an elaborate gym. There's one woman working out in there with a personal trainer. They don't notice Damien and her. I didn't care that it was you in particular. It's the principle of the thing. Damien throws a grin over his shoulder. Sure. He has no right to look so handsome while he's being full of himself and making fun of her. Ella tells him he's being an ass, and Damien just keeps making agreeable remarks in his sarcastic tone until they hit a double door. The doors open without any interference from them. There's no time to admire the modern and clean reception of the wellness area because the woman waiting for them ushers them to a private room immediately. Her non eyelash fluttering presence effectively ends their pointless discussion, although Ella is still seething at Damien calling her jealous. She wasn't, right? There's nothing about Damien she has a right to be jealous of. It's not like he was the one flirting. And even if he was, does Ella have any right to feel something about it? The private room is warm and sparsely furnished. There's almost nothing in it aside from two low massage tables. Two plain armchairs bracket a cupboard on the other side of the room. One corner of the cupboard is filled with dark bottles and a bowl of sand with incense sticking out of it. The room is pleasantly filled with the barest whisper of lavender. Their hostess clasps her hands and leans forward. It's almost like a bow, but Ella is not pretentious enough to think the woman is bowing to her. I will leave you to get undressed to your level of comfort. Leslie and May will arrive shortly. The hostess leaves without another word, not waiting for Ella to ask what she means by undressed to your level of comfort. She turns to Damien instead. He's already taking his shirt off, right there in the middle of the room, in full view of Ella. Ella couldn't help but notice Damien's toned back, the skin smooth and unmarked. The way his muscles shifted as he pulled the shirt over his head caught her attention. Damien tossed the shirt onto a chair and half turned, motioning toward the other chair. Ella quickly looked down, forcing herself to focus elsewhere. Ha! No abs. She had expected him to have some. A soft chuckle snapped Ella back to reality. Damien was smirking at her. You can take that side. If you're done staring, he teased. Ella's face warmed as she turned away, embarrassed by her reaction. Sweet Lord, why was she always blushing around this man? Trying to distract herself, Ella moved toward the massage table, but her awkward rush made her bump into it. Damien's soft laugh followed her, though he attempted to cover it with a cough. Gloaty bastard. Annoyance sparked in her chest, and she tried to channel it into her voice. Do I take off everything? She asked, her tone uncertain. Your choice, Damien replied easily. I usually don't bother with clothes. They just get in the way. The sound of his belt buckle loosening made Ella freeze, but she refused to look. The faint clink of the buckle hitting the floor echoed in the room. Ella hesitated, fingers brushing the hem of her shirt, when Damien's voice broke the silence. At least take off what you're comfortable with. There's a towel on the table you can use. Ella grabbed the towel quickly, grateful for the excuse to keep her focus elsewhere. Her eyes darted to Damien involuntarily, but he was already draping a towel around his waist, leaving his upper body bare. She immediately turned away, heart racing. This was unprofessional. He was only here because his uncle had sent him to help. Damien's low chuckle followed her again. Stop toying with me, she snapped. But you make it so entertaining, he replied, unbothered. Ella spun to face him, glaring. Damien had leaned casually against the wall, arms folded across his chest. His confident posture and the teasing grin on his face only frustrated her further. Turn around, she demanded. I'm not changing while you're watching. No problem, he said with an exaggerated shrug. Damien turned and sat on his massage table, his back to her. Don't worry, I won't peek, he added with a playful lilt in his voice. Ella scoffed and turned to undress as quickly as she could, glancing at him occasionally to make sure he wasn't breaking his promise. To her surprise, Damien stayed true to his word, not even shifting his position. She wrapped herself in the towel in record time. Okay, I'm decent, she announced. Damien glanced at her briefly before gesturing to a nearly hidden door in the wall. There's a bathroom there. Might be a good idea to go now. It's better than interrupting the massage later. Ella huffed as she walked to the door. I could have used this to change, she muttered, pushing it open to reveal a spacious bathroom. Damien grinned unapologetically. Where's the fun in that? A knock at the door interrupted them, and someone called out to ask if they were ready. Damien waved toward the bathroom. Take a moment if you need it, he said. Ella rolled her eyes and shut the bathroom door behind her, trying to calm the frustration bubbling in her chest. When she returned, Damien was seated on his massage table, towel secured around his waist. She sat awkwardly on her table, unsure of what to do next. You should lay down and get the towel under you, Damien suggested. She hesitated, unsure how to do so without making things awkward. Seeing her reluctance, Damien approached carefully. If you lay down, I can help with the towel, he offered, his tone surprisingly professional. Ella nodded, lying face down on the table. Damien adjusted the towel deftly, ensuring she was covered while repositioning it underneath her. His movements were gentle and respectful, his touch light. Soon enough, she was settled on the table, her body finally relaxing.